Fox News is going to report on the new Democratic tax plan, which includes middle-class tax cuts, and watch how they and the GOP respond, because this is Orwell 101.
They're saying they have a tax cut plan, and the plan is being pitched by Maryland Democrat Chris Van Hollen. It would offer a, quote, paycheck bonus credit that would shave about $2,000 off the tax bills of families making less than $200,000 a year. It would also propose to triple the tax credit for child care and perhaps even help families save a little money if they save up to $500 annually, getting, again, another little tax break on that. So how do they propose to pay for it all? Well, $1.2 trillion over a decade would come through a new fee. And anytime you hear the word fee in Washington, you know what that means. That fee would come on financial transactions from the top 1% of earners, who would also lose billions of dollars in lucrative tax credits.
Interesting. So how's the plan being received on the Hill?
As you might imagine, not terribly well. In fact, a spokesman for House Ways and Means Chair Paul Ryan ripped this plan, Martha. Brendan Buck saying, quote, just as the sun rises in the east in Washington, Democrats propose another massive tax increase. Here in the House, our focus is going to be on cleaning up the tax code so that we can lower tax rates for all taxpayers and help create good-paying jobs, not scaring them off with punitive tax hikes. And in fact, I just moments ago heard from Mike Steele, a spokesman for Speaker John Boehner. He said the last thing we need right now is another massive tax increase, especially with this currently broken tax code. By the way, at the end of the day, this is likely to be just a conversation piece, because with the GOP firmly in control of both houses of Congress, there would appear to be very, very little chance of this moving forward, Martha.
They just described how most of the plan is tax cuts. And then all of a sudden, they're giving responses from the GOP where the GOP is like, we condemn these tax hikes that the goddamn Democrats want. Did we fucking miss something? Did I miss something there? They just described how most of the plan, tax cuts. Tax cuts for the middle class, tax cuts for the poor, tax cuts across the board. And then what do? The Republicans are like, these goddamn Democrats and their tax hikes. Who are you responding to? You just created a phantom enemy to argue against the phantom enemy. You didn't respond to the actual plan proposed by the Democrats. 95% of the plan is tax cuts. You want to know what the so-called tax hikes really are in this proposal, by the way? A 0.1% high-volume transaction tax. You know what that means? For investment banks and hedge funds, where all they do is trade all day, hundreds of thousands of dollars and millions of dollars all day long. There is a 0.1% transaction tax on those transactions. So in other words, this doesn't affect middle-class people. This doesn't affect upper-middle-class people. This doesn't affect most rich people. It only affects the richest of the richest of the richest and the hedge fund owners and the investment banks. 0.1% tax to allow a middle-class tax cut. And across the board, they're like, no, the Democrats only want tax hikes. I just told you, 0.1% tax hike on the richest of the richest of the richest. And then also the other so-called tax hikes in the plan, it's taxes linked to productivity. So in other words, as we described yesterday, let's say there's a CEO or a CFO that gets a pay raise of $1 million, so now they're making $4 million a year. Well, according to this proposal, they say, okay, demonstrate to us that this person actually produced that amount of wealth. So it makes sense that they're getting that amount of a pay increase. And if they do provide that information, then guess what? There's no increase in taxes. So if they really earned it, okay, great. But if you're raising their salary $1 million a year, and then you say, yeah, we did it, but they actually underperformed and they didn't really earn the money, and we're screwing over the shareholders and we're screwing over everybody else in the company, then they say, oh, okay, you can pay them if you want, but we're going to tax that. Who on earth could be against that? It's flat out saying, hey, pay people what they're worth, like it's supposed to be in a true capitalist economy. And what do the Republicans do? No, just give all the money to the rich. So wait a second. You guys are the people who don't like capitalism then. You're the people who just believe in state-sanctioned socialism, but only for the rich, only for the white guys in suits and ties on Wall Street. As long as it's socialism for them, all day long, give me the money, give me the money, give me the money. But if it's poor black people, or if it's anybody who needs a social safety net, oh, God, no, now we need rugged, individualistic, laissez-faire capitalism for those sons of bitches. They are such hypocrites. And that, again, remember I said that was Orwell 101? Because the Orwellian trick is what? Define perpetual war as perpetual peace. So you go out and you give speeches and you tell everybody, isn't it great that we're living in a time of perpetual peace? Meanwhile, you're engaged in like 4 different wars. It's what the U.S. is doing right now. It's the same thing that they're doing about the Democratic plan. All the Republican responses were like, and we oppose this Democratic tax hike policy. Blech. Disregarding the fact that it's the Democrats who said, let's cut taxes for the middle class. Let's cut taxes for the poor. Here, let's extend the best kinds of tax credits that there are. And just like I've stated repeatedly on the show, this idea that progressives are all in favor of nothing but taxes all over the place, it's simply not true. I've never met a middle class tax cut I didn't like. A lot of progressives are like that. And these guys are proposing bills right in line with that. And then the Republicans slap it down and wrap themselves in the flag and carry the mantle of we are the party of tax cuts, even though we just block tax cuts for the overwhelming majority of Americans and middle-class Americans. Fox News and the Republican Party, they're so disingenuous, they're such liars, to the point where they'll admit the truth and then they'll just spin it and just flip it on its head in their responses to what they just laid out for you. Like, even if you're a hardcore Fox News viewer, you don't watch that and scratch your head and go, wait, they just showed me that the plan is mostly tax cuts. What's going on here? Like, the next thing, the responses didn't logically follow. The Republicans were basically responding to a plan that's not the actual plan. What's going on here? But no, the Republican audience, the deeply conservative audience and older white audience that watches Fox News, they just turn off their brains and whatever gets pumped in their head, even if it's contradictory, they just take it and accept it.